Welcome back to the podcast, guys. Today, I've got Jamie Wood on the episode, and this is a little bit of a unique episode because Jamie and I go back to our days at Ohio State. We're both fellow Buckeyes, so played football at Ohio State. We share that in common. He was actually working in compliance when I was on the football team at Ohio State, so Jamie's just a little bit older than me, a little bit further along in his journey, professional journey, and then spent some time at Texas A&M working on the NIL side of things, name, image, and likeness with the athletes there. And then now he's since phased into building his own brand, his own company, really around helping these athletes transition to that next level of their career and help them continue evolving through that process. And so we have a really unique relationship right now too, where I'm actually helping Jamie with his health, his fitness. I'm working with him, coaching him up, training him, and really helping him get back into, kind of this new realm of like life of how do we take fitness from what we did as athletes and evolve it in a way where we're still getting better, we're still improving, but we're just doing so sustainably over long durations of time versus like, only an 8-week off season or like a 6-week off season. So it's been fun, kind of developing that routine with you and helping guide you through that process, man, which I know we're going to talk about a lot about in the episode today, man. So I'm just excited to have you, dude. I know that this episode is going to take a lot of different turns around, things that we talk about in the gym, professional experiences, life lessons, NIL, what you see behind the scenes, working with these athletes, what I even see, from the fitness and training side of it. So I think it's going to be a really collaborative conversation, man. So I'm excited.
Me too, man. Zach, I've been watching you and tracking your growth and your journey, and now to be a part of it in a bunch of different ways, right? As a client, but then also now being able to share this stage with you. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
For sure, brother. Well, dude, I'm stoked, and we can dive right in, man. And I really want to kind of touch on like your experience too at Ohio State, because with us kind of being in that program in different eras of time, I think we uniquely have our own kind of experience with that, depending on the coaching staff, like what players, were on the team at the time, the team as a whole, how we did at the time. So I'm just really curious to kind of take you back, man, and ask you the question of what it felt like to play at a university and a program like Ohio State, and what were those early years like transitioning, from a young high school athlete, naive, we don't know shit, bro.
I had no clue.
And then how, what was that like essentially stepping into a program like Ohio State of that degree and level of just intensity and just high level attention to detail?
Man, I think for me, I was at Ohio State at a pretty unique era. Being from Columbus kid, Pick Central grad, highly recruited, local hometown talent. There was a lot of pressure that I felt kind of navigating just the recruiting process. I didn't get recruited until like later, like my junior year, which now you have got kids like getting recruited in 8th grade and freshman year, which there's so much growth and development that has to happen between them. Right. But for me, man, I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to play at my dream school. And so when Coach Tressel at the time made that call, I shut down my recruitment. And Ohio State was where I wanted to be. It was a dream of mine. It was also, I think, a lot of my family's dream. Yeah. And I think that played a factor into some of my decisions too, which I don't think is wrong. I think just the awareness of that is additional pressure, is a lot of what I felt. When it came to my playing career at Ohio State. So I came in as an Army All-American, pretty highly touted recruit, 4-star, all everything, and grateful for that opportunity. I had really great programs and coaches at Pick Central that developed me, and I felt like we worked pretty hard. We had a great culture, working out, doing things extra. But then going to Ohio State was a whole nother level. A whole nother level. I graduated early, and I enrolled spring semester. At that time, we were on quarters. So I enrolled in the spring, and I was all of like 175, trying to play safety with some massive humans. The offensive linemen that are 6'7". Our biggest offensive lineman was probably 6'2", about 300 pounds in high school. And so just a drastic change in environment, and I mean, just the people and the expectations were high. And I think that was something that I didn't expect and didn't really feel prepared for. And I didn't have people before me that could tell me. My dad did not play college football. My mom did not play college athletics. And as times evolve, as we'll talk about, it's constantly changing. And I think, but the bar was so high at Ohio State even with Coach Tressel being my first experience.
Dude, yeah. And I think like what you said there about expectations is so real because it's almost like you step into a program like that and it's just the norm. Like this high level of expectation, how people are performing, like the competitive nature of it. Like it's kind of already set and you're kind of like coming into it and it's kind of like, whoa. And I think for a lot of us and even young athletes, it's kind of a sink or swim moment. You know what I mean? Like, did you have any like thoughts or emotions during that process where it was like,
did I
don't know if I can do this, dude.
Did
you ever have that?
I really did, man. I think starting out with just redshirting, that whole experience was not what I had planned. When you enroll early, you think you're like about to play.
Oh yeah.
And you kind of get ingrained in the culture and get used to it. I remember like our first winter workout, which winter workouts are like the hardest workouts ever. And they got even harder when Coach Meyer came on board.
Yeah.
But I really did not understand the basics of what it meant to be a defensive back. I played more of like a hybrid linebacker type of role.
Yeah.
I was, on the edge, playing cover 3, playing the flats most of the time. But to play middle of the field, to know how to flip my hips and to really play coverage as a safety, I did not have that skill set. And so that on top of the mental component, the installs and really understanding like these different calls and fires and zones and pressures, and really knowing what is happening in front of me and around me. I think I was very much focused on what do I need to do. And I had a coach at that time that was very particular about the details.
Yes.
Your alignment, your assignment, your eyes. If you're supposed to be at 7 steps off the line, not 5. And he would critique you, even if you made the play. And so I think a wild mix of like all of those things and that drastic shock and change really, I don't know that I was prepared for it. And when I think about athletes, I think the goal is to build capacity. The capacity to withstand whatever's thrown your way, right? Because you can't control everything and you won't. And there is an expectation of an elevated experience. But how do you grow capacity? And I think that happens in the weight room. I think that happens in life. I think that happens in relationships. And I think that's the goal. Now, as I look back, I did not have great capacity.
Well, right. And dude, that's what's cool is like when you don't give up, when you're in that moment, you're like, okay, this isn't going to be something that breaks me. It's going to be something that develops me. Like, that's where you build that capacity, bro. 100%. And like, that's what gave you the capacity. Like when you step into things you're doing now, it's like we built that foundation at a young age. And then that serves us so much later on. And I think, for you, how did that kind of pressure and intensity like shape who you are?
Yeah, I think the way I look back at like all of the good, bad, and indifferent that I've navigated in my journey, because I also had injuries, multiple injuries. Coach Tressel got fired year 2 of me being there. Luke Fickell was taken over for a year. We went 6-7, the worst in a long time in Ohio State history. And then Urban comes in and just flips this whole thing on its head, and elevates it in many ways. I think the way that I look at it now is like, man, there's so many lessons. And when I pause, which I don't think a lot of us as athletes, we don't slow down enough. We're always looking forward, next play, and we're ingrained and socialized to think that way. I would have benefited from some reflection, because I think as high performers or people that have high aspirations, we don't give ourselves enough credit and grace and understanding like, man, we did the best there with this day. Let's close this chapter. And then let's move on. Let's memorialize this moment. I say that often is like, let's put a memorial there, because there is something that you learned. There's some way that you grew. It may not have been the way that you wanted it to, and it may not have played out the outcome in the way that you wanted it to, but there's something there for you. And I think as I reflect and as I get into the work that I'm doing now, I'm pulling from each of those different experiences, the red shirt, the injury, the going out on High Street and probably indulging in things that I probably shouldn't have if I wanted to be pro. There was a misalignment in like my goals and what I said I wanted and how my lifestyle was actually operating at that time.
Dude, I think that's so crucial. And we talk about that a lot, like just giving yourself space to just assess and like think about what you're doing. And I think that that's important, and it goes hand in hand with a lot of the conversations we've had about balance, where it's like you as high performers and as people who want to achieve, it's really easy. I say this a lot, man. I'm like, I think it's really easy to like be super like lazy, complacent, and just all over the place, like that extreme. And then it's also easy to be all in, locked in, no regulation, no balance, just all in. And I think it's extremely hard to find balance.
It
and
is.
like what we're talking about is almost like we can take that perspective as athletes where maybe it was during a period of our time or period of our lives where we didn't give ourselves that time or that space to think, assess, evaluate. And I think that's something we can now take with us now, where it's like, hey, it's okay to be in pursuit of these goals and in pursuit of excellence and perfection almost to a certain degree, knowing that we have to celebrate it along the way, bro.
100%.
We have to take those pauses. And luckily, like, shout out to my wife, Christina. I feel like she's been such a great regulator for me where, like, during these certain milestones, she's like, let's just celebrate it. Just be with it, sit with it, like reflect back on where we've came to where we are now. And she's been so good about that almost like every year of our relationship and our professional development where like, I know that has helped give me so much perspective. So I feel like that's just so important to talk about, especially as other high performers are watching this and listening to this, to know that like, hey, you're not the only one that's struggling with that balance, bro. Like it's all of us.
100%.
You know what I mean?
And I like to use the word rhythm. I think balance, there's like a strain in trying to balance, right? If you think about trying to stay balanced, rhythm is more of like a dance, right?
Fluid.
It's more fluid and you catch the beat. And I mean, if you got any rhythm, you catch it. If not, I'm not the best dancer. I wish I had that. I'll give my
me too, bro.
I'll give my athletic talents away to have like dancing abilities and singing abilities. But anyhow, the rhythm is extremely important. And I think it changes, right? As the melody changes, as the pace of the song changes, as everything shifts around it, when you incorporate new instruments and new sounds, you might shift it a bit. And so rhythm is the phrasing that I kind of use, and it's helped me to kind of contextualize it in a better way, at least for me.
Dude, absolutely. And I think that's something that took me a long time to learn myself, where we're so rigid about things. We're like, we want it to be this way, or we want it to be that way, or we almost have this thought process. And like with me working in training and fitness and health and nutrition, it's like we almost look at these things like an end destination. And none of this is an end destination.
Linear.
It is a continuous process, man. It's a continuous evolution of growth, of learning, making adaptations to the way you're living, the way you're doing things, and then you just keep going. And I think the sooner I like accepted that, the sooner I realized that like my fitness is going to be a lifelong pursuit. My business is going to be a lifelong pursuit. My relationship is a lifelong pursuit, bro.
Yeah.
And I've went there mentally and I've accepted those things. And I'm like, okay, I got time. I can take a break. I can pull back a little bit when I need to, knowing I'm playing the long game. And I think a lot of time that friction and that pressure comes from, we got to be there now. We got to arrive there right now. And I get it. We're human, dude. Like we want the success. We want the wins, but we have to delay that gratification to ultimately get them. You know what I mean? So I just love that you talk about that rhythm, because I talk a lot about structured flexibility. It's the same thing, bro.
It is.
It's like you've got structure around what you're doing, how you're operating, your inputs each and every day. But we can be flexible about when we do them, how we do them. You know, that's kind of how I operate now with like my meals. Like, dude, it's like I eat around the same time throughout the day, but I'm not like, oh my God, if I don't eat at this exact time, it's the end of the world. I'm screwed. My results suck. It's like, no, dude, as long as you're just generally around that same time and you're keeping that rhythm, I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to be good. And I have the results and the evidence to back it up. So it's like, I think the sooner we can break free from that, just like that rigidity around like how we do things and how we live, and the more fluid and rhythmic we can get with it, I just think like we can take a lot of unnecessary stress like away from that pursuit.
I agree. And I think the other like lesson on the football piece is like so much of our structure and our plan was given to us.
Yes.
We at least I didn't feel I had much input. And I think when you think about managing 110
young guys,
young men with hormones going crazy, you do have to establish like maybe a bit more stringent structure. But I don't think that equipped and prepared me for the reality of like when you're done.
Yes.
Which I think now you have to figure out how to create your own structure. And okay, maybe it's not a 2.5 hour workout. Maybe it's a 30-minute, 45-minute, get a sweat going, and you're done for the day. And you do that every day.
Yes.
So I think that's been, as I talk to a lot of former athletes and even current athletes, you're taught not to think. They create this environment where you don't have to choose. You don't have to, hey, you don't even have to leave the facility. We're going to put everything that you need in this facility, and we're going to pay millions of dollars to make it this way. I think when it comes to going out into the real world, you're now not, your immune system, if we want to use that phrase, is not prepared for the reality of life on your own, without somebody telling you where to be, when to be there, and what to wear.
Yes, dude. It's literally so true, man. And I think that's so important, bro, because it goes hand in hand with what I do, but it also goes hand in hand with what you do. And anybody working with somebody or serving individuals or serving athletes, it has to be reciprocated. Like, you have to be willing to have the ability to be like, what do you want? What do you actually, how do you feel?
How can I best show up for you?
How can I better show up for you and your development as an athlete, as a person, as a man? You know what I mean? And I think that's what it's really about.
I agree. I think that's a challenge for me as I step into entrepreneurship and coaching and consulting. A lot of it is, you tell me where you want to go, and I'm going to put the proper support around you, but I'm empowering you.
Yes.
Zach, when we train, you're not lifting the weights for me. You're providing the structure, you're giving the guidance, you're an objective viewer of my work. But at the end of the day, I have to pick up that weight. And I think the same can be said when you're working with athletes or when you're working with anybody. It's like, the goal is they are the hero. I'm just a guide. I'm here to help you navigate. I'm here to provide you perspective. But at the end of the day, the work is in your hands.
Yep.
And I'll be here to support you in that way too.
100%, dude. And I think that this just so perfectly taps into kind of what you're doing now and the way you are serving these athletes. And so I know after football, you took a little bit of a unique path working in compliance at your alma mater, Ohio State, which is where we met. So what was that?
The compliance guy.
Yeah, exactly. Compliance guy, man. So what was that experience like for you, man? Like, kind of being now on the other side, where you're kind of on the office side of it, like the behind the scenes, helping the athletes. Like, what was that experience like in general for you?
Yeah. So when ball ended involuntarily, a lot of challenges came from that. The whole identity crisis, who am I when I'm not performing in that way? So much of our value has been attributed to like our physical prowess and performance. In my last surgery, I got 2 shoulder surgeries. My second one, I did a internship program within the athletic department. It was called Bucks Go Pro. I was in the inaugural class of that. So it was like 16 of us. And the idea was for them to create an environment to give your athletes almost like a training ground in work and career development before they send you out to the corporation or to the other business. And so I reluctantly went for that. And, Janine Oman actually, shared this opportunity. Hey, I think you should apply. And I was lost. I was trying to figure things out. And I did it. And I worked in the ticket office. Wasn't an area that I had like passion about, but I think what I learned is there's a whole world on the other side of what happens on the field, in the court, in the water, that makes this thing go.
Yes, I think it's a whole machine.
It's a machine. It's a corporation. It's a business. And I think even now more than ever, we're recognizing the business, and the athletes are actually able to contribute or benefit from the business in some additional ways. But it's been a business.
Yeah.
And I think what I appreciated in that experience was the relationships I was able to form, and then just getting some experience, some exposure that led to an expanded outlook on this athletics world. And then that spun off into an actual full-time employment opportunity within the compliance department. And so much of my experience with compliance, my first experience with them was my coach getting fired and some of my teammates getting investigated for getting tattoos and selling their gear or merch or whatever else is in that case. To then become compliance, it was kind of like, man, I'm selling my soul a little bit is what I felt.
Right.
And I got jokes from a lot of my guys, but what I learned is that compliance is so much of compliance, the foundation. If you think about a pyramid, the bottom and the base of a pyramid, which is the foundation, was education.
Yeah.
Our job, those compliance sessions, the one-off phone calls, the coaches calling us, it was to lay that solid foundation of like, here are the rules, here's how it applies to what you're doing and where you're at in this ecosystem. And and then the next layer is monitoring. That is like the forms that we had you complete, the things that we had you submit. A lot of that was almost like a check, a pulse check. The very tippy top of the pyramid was the enforcement side. However, when it comes to media, when it comes to attention, the education is not in the news.
Right.
The enforcement piece
like the
is what makes the news. And so
Which is kind of sad. Like,
it
we should
is
celebrate like the development. You know?
We should, but it's not sexy,
Right.
And so,
Unfortunately.
writing waivers to grant kids extra years of eligibility, helping an international student get from their home country to come here, or to pay for a young person who just lost a parent in Africa. We were able to do that. Compliance facilitated so much of that. And so to wrap that up, my whole point is like checks and balances. When you have a valued product, which we can call sport a product, and you have a valued operation and corporation, it makes sense to have policies, procedures, especially in a competitive environment like sports and athletics.
For sure.
And that's how I view compliance now. It's a necessary piece, no different than the law is.
100%, dude.
To help govern in some sense.
Dude, absolutely. And then from that experience, like, what did that transition look like for you? Like, how did it go down from you kind of transitioning from compliance then at Ohio State to like your role at Texas A&M with NIL? Like, what did that kind of transition period look like?
Yeah.
And how did those roles kind of like differ?
So I looked at compliance as almost like defense to an extent, right? Like it's the necessary part. It's how you win championships.
Kind of protect the organization, the team.
There's a protecting element there. And I looked at NIL because I was at Ohio State for 6 years. So I was there pre-NIL. I was there right when NIL started, and I had 2 years, and I saw what we began to build. And that team there has done an amazing job of creating a vehicle for NIL to be effective, and it's obviously resulted in a lot of success. But I think that's an accumulation of a lot of things. But that transition to NIL at Texas A&M for me was the chance to play both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
I had the compliance background, but I also desired to rebrand. I never felt like I fit in compliance. I was able to do it, and I benefited from having really great people around me that helped me grow quicker. But I cared more about the athlete experience and their development, which I was able to flex into some of those roles too while at Ohio State. But then NIL and how I envisioned NIL was going to grant me that opportunity as well. And then to go to another storied program like Texas A&M, it's like, okay, let's do it. I got the Big Ten best program. I got SEC now best program. They're undefeated right now.
Yeah.
It was a great opportunity.
Dude, that's awesome. And like from that, was it unique kind of seeing how the different universities do things, or was there like a lot of parallels between the two?
There are parallels, but like the traditions, like Texas A&M did traditions like none other. The 12th man, I had no real awareness of kind of what they were about prior to me going there and prior to me researching, but they're rich in tradition. It's almost like a time warp. So like the old donors can come back and it's like the same.
Yeah.
Which I think creates a great sense of belonging, which is the beauty of sport and fandom, right? Is like you kind of can escape your real life and go jump into this fantasy world and watch these young people run around and play ball, which is like a wild paradox. But
for sure,
that's literally, it's like you're profiting off of passion is really what this whole system is kind of built around.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, bro, is like, how do you, working in that field, and then also your perspective of those that work in it, how do you maintain that balance of kind of like what we talked about earlier? And it's funny that this is a theme that keeps coming back with balance, but like I was talking about like the weightlifting and stuff like that. Like, how do you find that balance of like, hey, we got to push and we've got to we really got to build this toughness in you, but not be like dumb about it and like hurt them and add fuel to the fire. Same thing when we're working on the business side of an organization. How do we move business goals and financial goals while maintaining that level of human with like, hey, I'm serving this athlete as a human. Man. So I'd be so curious to hear how you navigate that. And knowing you, bro, I'm like, I love that you're in this because I know you and I know how you are with these guys. And I know that you will be one that like, no matter what, how you change, how your business adapts and evolves over time, like you will not lose that because that's who you are.
It is.
And that's why I love that you're doing this because it's at the end of the day, it's like the impact you're truly making on those kids' lives at a deep level. So I would just love to hear kind of how you maintain or how you expect to maintain that balance now and into the future.
Well, so much of what I've built and what I believe in hyphenated, right? The idea is that we are all more than one thing.
Yes.
You're a coach, you're an athlete, you're a high roxer, you're a
podcaster.
You're all.
I know it's funny, bro.
things.
You're saying this because I was literally doing this post yesterday, and this is totally random. But I did that like video, and I'm like, in my 5 years as a personal trainer, I'm like, bro, that's like 1/5 of like what I
That's
do.
it.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
That's it.
like I'm a strength coach, I'm a nutrition coach, like I podcast, like
It's a part.
there's multiple levels or layers
There are.
to myself
There
and to
are.
others. So
And
it's
so
ironic we're talking about that.
it is, but that's exactly like the piece for me is there's the person and then there's the player.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our environment and our ecosystems and support needs to be mindful of both always, in my
Yes.
opinion. I think there are times where the player is leading the charge and you have to grind, right? And you have to turn on that switch of playing, but then you have to then come home to care about the person and the being that is actually driving this, I call it like expression. I think sport is a creative expression. And it's a form of it. But at the end of the day, it's what you do. It's not who you are.
Yes.
And I think that ethos plays, into how I want to build and how I am building and how I want our, it's almost like a philosophy for me is to live in a hyphenated way.
Bro, and how many athletes, like, dude, I think back to my experience. I swear we talked about this in the gym, but like I was truly not thinking about like anything else other than football. And I'm hearing you talk and I'm like, this will be so valuable
100%.
for these kids because you know the process. You've been someone who was lost post football. Like you understand all of those dynamics and you're essentially being proactive, getting ahead of those things and helping these players look beyond who they are as just the athlete. And I think that's what's so cool about hyphenated.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about NIL, right? I think everybody, when you read it, the headlines and the numbers that are being thrown around, everybody's mind first goes to the money. And I think, yes, let's get paid, right? You earn that. Yes, go ahead. At the same time, there's the relational pieces that you can't really put a price to getting a chance to sit with Cameron Mitchell, right, on a one-on-one. And that is what is now afforded to a lot of these athletes is you can leverage who you are in your player persona to get into rooms and to have conversations and to gauge the interest of people that otherwise probably wouldn't care about the person. But that exposure and that leveraging of your athletic identity to be able to connect can draw through lines to help you develop as a person. So yes, I want to deal with Cameron Mitchell's, but I also would love to learn how your business works. And I would love to come and shadow and come to your headquarters and, come to your corporate retreat with the other executives so I can go be a sponge, right, in my off season. It might not be a month-long internship. It might just be a weekend. But to me, that is the philosophy that I would love every bit of the athletes that I work with, the institutions, is to see beyond the dollar and to realize like this is a part of your development journey. Like this money is going to be spent and it's going to go, but like what are the things that are intangibles and invaluable that you can gain from this experience and this opportunity that's now presented to you?
100%, bro. And I guarantee you a lot of that stems from your own experience,
100%.
Your experience in compliance, your experience at OSU and Texas A&M. So that's what I'm really curious about, bro. Like you know this about myself where, and I probably said it on the podcast, but a huge motivator, bro, for me to getting into like personal training and like fitness and training, like I saw it as a very subpar industry, but something that I was equally insanely passionate about. And I'm like, I'm going to do this way better than all this shit that's out there. And I knew I could, and I knew I would do it differently and I would deliver it differently. I would do it in a way that would help you guys like not just get results for a week or a month or a couple of months. It's like keep progressing for good for years and years and years. So I was just determined to do this thing differently. I'm sure you were that way with hyphenated, where you're like, I've seen how this is going. I know what's going on. What were some of those kind of motivators for you to do it differently? And what does that look like? Like, what do you kind of want to do differently with hyphenated?
Well, I think I look back at like my experience. Again, I kind of go back to, I believe that everything that God allows you to go through is, if you've overcome it and you're living on the other side of it, it's a lesson. It's something that you now can use to help the next and to teach. And so my life was not squeaky clean. I could probably teach people more what not to do based off of what I've done.
That's why I always say, bro, like
do.
All the shit I've learned is from failing, dog. 100%. Like the only way I learn is through failing.
100%, man. And so I think that's equipped me to now, how can I use my hindsight to be your foresight? And I think there's so many different ways to kind of unpack that. And then I am continually evolving and growing myself. I don't know everything. And this space is moving and shifting so fast that you almost have to stay clued in. But I think what isn't going to change for me is the identity based as like the foundation. Your human piece. It's like you, at the end of the day, when ball ends, whether that's 15 years or 23 years like LeBron, or tomorrow, you're still going to come back to your human being and your existence as a person. And I think if we can build solutions that don't negate and further commodify the athlete, which I think is what's happening, is you're now being told what your value is, what your worth is, and who you should associate with, instead of like, let's figure out what I care about, what my values are, who I want to be, and how I want to show up in this world. And then let's go from there. It's a different approach.
That's the difference.
And that's where I want to stay. I will stay locked into that approach. And looking to partner with people and organizations and others that are willing to kind of embrace that ideology.
Dude, you're empowering the athlete. That's what fires me up. Go back to what we just talked about earlier, where we just said they're suppressed. They're told what to do. They're put in a box. And you're like, let's bust that shit open and let's figure out what you're really about.
100%.
What do you actually want, dog?
Yeah.
And even if they are a young kid who, maybe they don't know everything, maybe they're going to make mistakes, let them, dude.
Let them decide. Let them, hey, I'm curious about this thing. Let me go do that thing. Like it's funny, we're talking about this. I joke with my parents all the time. Like the way that they raised us was kind of that way, where it was like, and we were talking about this. I literally trained my parents, and we were talking about this yesterday in our session, where they like, I can see it, like where it's like a lot of parents feel like they have to kind of like control the kid. You know what I mean? And my parents very much so like kind of let us do our thing, let us discover, let us fail. And I'm like, I was telling them in the session yesterday, like as I've become older and into this adult life, I'm like, that is literally why I'm the way I am, period. Mm-hmm. So it's like, dude, when you think about these kids in these very malleable stages of their lives, and you can not only be there as a resource, but even take it a step further, like you're going to be the one that helps unlock that awareness that we're now figuring out 100%
later.
The curiosity
you're getting ahead of it.
100%. I think curiosity, like how I grew up, was like, you don't ask questions. Mm-hmm. I'm not because I said so.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, like now it's explaining why. Mm-hmm. Many of these athletes and individuals want context.
Yes.
And I think if development is important to you and their growth and their knowledge growing, then you would offer them that opportunity. It might take a little bit longer. It might force you to coach in a different way. But I mean, there's been plenty of times where I've asked you questions and it's something simple in my mind, but then you go down these rabbit hole of giving me.
That's my weakness.
I don't say it's weakness.
I need to simplify things better, but I do.
I'm in the same boat.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That nuance. We see nuance.
I love the nuance.
We see gray. We see
and that's
the variables. And it is the magic, but I think what I'm learning in business is that you have to start simple. You got to grow to that. And that's part of the relationship piece. That's part of the building blocks of development, right? You don't go from straight to Z. You got to go A, B, C, D, and then pause. Let's talk about A, B, C, and D, and then let's get to Z.
Yes.
And I think that's where I'm growing and learning as I'm going down this path as well.
Absolutely, bro. And I think just knowing that why, like it's so important, man. Like just knowing why you're doing what you're doing, having purpose and intention. Like we talk about that all the time, like
huge.
Having purpose and intention behind what you're doing. So I know we kind of talked about it a little bit there, but before I move on to this next piece, dude, I really wanted to kind of hear from you, because we kind of talked about it there, but I want you to like really expand on it. Like, what were some of your main motivators for starting Hyphenated? And like, what is like a big why for you stepping into this?
I think for me, man, so much of my journey has been on the institutional side.
Yeah.
I've been an inside man, and in many cases, there's a part of me that feels complicit in being a part of what now is like being overhauled. Mm-hmm. And that's not like my driving force behind getting into it, but it does live within me. It's like I was compliance. I was enforcing these rules that I never really agreed with to some extent. And so now that we're in this recalibration and reconfiguring and reimagining of this space, I'm now taking every bit of what I've learned on the inside and what I know is doing. Like there's some great people on the inside that have good motives and good intent. But at some point, the institution's interest they're gonna conflict with the athletes. And you're seeing that in the most tangible way when it comes to negotiating contracts and NIL deals. Now that schools are paying athletes directly, the very people that are coaching you and that used to be just like patting you on the back and hopefully giving you some playing time, or now they're building front offices where you're now negotiating a true deal with the school and you're licensing
It's
your
like it's
NIL.
more incentive.
It is.
So
It's
imagine
becoming more
how
of a business.
political it would get.
100%. And they're, in some cases, they have contracts that are tied to incentives, right?
Yeah.
How your performance and your records, but it's just not ready for a lot of what is being forced into. And a lot of this innovation that we see in this landscape is reluctant.
Yeah.
We weren't proactive. This stuff we could have taken steps to get to this point, but we didn't. And so now, while I'm on the outside, it's an outside-in approach to really helping the athlete, the family, first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also the feedback that I'm getting from athletes and how they're experiencing the institution. I have valuable insights to give institutional employees and athletic departments too.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was an athletic department, I would probably want to listen to somebody that knows me intimately. And then it's also now on this other side, because I think the feedback, we go back to feedback loops, that probably be something worth kind of looking into. And I think we think money is everything to everybody, and it's not. And I think that's one of the big observations that I've had. And so again, it just kind of further
Especially
validates.
as we become more adult, get into this life, bro. Like you really, you got that pressure, and it's like you really got to kind of that's why I always say, dude, and we talk about this a lot in our sessions. It's like you gotta find what you value, because you're constantly conditioned to believe that, and I think you kind of have to decide for yourself, what is it outside of the money? What do I really want? What really fulfills me? Because I've kind of been there where I've gotten into that kind of subconscious loop of I'm just chasing the money. I'm just chasing this arbitrary success. When I first got it, when I was lost as a post-athlete, you remember? Yeah, bro. I was going through it and I was trying to figure it out and I was all over the place and I was an idiot compared to what I was now. I did not have my shit together. And, but through that, I discovered this person I am today because I decided to look inward and figure out what do I actually value, dude? Aside from this stuff that the world is telling me, and I've been conditioned my whole life to be this is the number one thing that rules the freaking world. And it's yeah, to an extent, but there's levels to it.
100%.
And you can kind of decide for yourself on what level do you want to take it to where you can still enjoy your life. You're not allowing it to become something that's an unhealthy obsession. Because I think that happens to a lot of us, especially men, where it becomes an unhealthy pursuit and obsession. And it's we don't even have strong reasoning why. We're just chasing this thing because we've always been told to chase it. And then I think that's the easiest way to just land in complete and utter misery. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of guys are, to be quite honest. I see it. I have conversations and I was there. And I think you got to get out of there 100%. As quickly as you can. Otherwise, we know what life will look like.
Well, I think life will teach you that, right?
It will.
If you don't come to awareness,
it'll keep putting it in your face.
Yeah, situations will happen and I've had my numbers of situations that have kind of woken me up a bit. And I think that's part of the human experience. It's just you're here and then you get knocked upside your head and you fall down and you get back up, and the wisdom that you gain from those failures and those, hey, I missed the mark here, but let's keep going. And I think that's just kind of synonymous with life. And again, sport is one of the best classrooms and teachers of some of these things that now are transferable. And that's part of the conversation too, is there's so many transferable skills that sports teaches you. And I see it with people that didn't get to experience sport in the way that we did.
100%.
It's there's levels to that too.
Yes.
But I think at a core is life is a team sport.
It is.
Every role on the team has value, right? And if you think about the body, my thumb, my pinky, every part serves a purpose. Yeah. And I think that was one of the biggest things that I learned from football. And I think we want to carry that over into business, into life. And I try to treat people in that way as well.
Yes, dude. And I think that's something that really does serve us, man, is those life lessons. I say the same thing, dude. I'm I learned everything from that experience with football, dude. Especially my walk on to scholarship process and that whole thing.
Lacrosse to football.
Yeah, lacrosse to football. I learned delayed gratification for years. I'm not talking weeks, months. I'm talking years. And think about how many people they don't see results in a week or a month, and they're
we're out.
Yeah. So it's
I was that guy.
Yeah, I've learned no, bro, this stuff takes years, and I have to remind myself 5 years into my business now. I'm I'm kind of just getting started. Like
I'm only in 1 year.
Like I'll kind of feel like I've been doing it a while once I hit like a decade. You know what I mean? And like that's just the time scale perspective I've been able to build, knowing how this stuff takes time. But I think that, dude, just kind of building that like awareness around how can we take how we operated as athletes and transfer that into our lives now, but in a healthy way. Because you and I have talked about that, where it's like, I know for me, like that crazy attention to detail can turn into procrastination. We talk about that, where it's like I can kind of get stalled in my movement and being productive because I'm so like perfection minded sometimes, or so attention to detail, or like getting worked up about little things that like don't really matter, like allowing myself to get anxious about things that like, bro, do I really have to give energy to that? Like, because we start to realize like you only got so much of it, bro. You only got so much energy, and you really start to have to like be technical about how you're spending that. But yeah, man, I just think that all of that is so good. Like if we can just take those habits that we've learned as athletes, transfer them over into our lives, like that's a lot of what the principle of everyday athlete is in a lot of ways. And so, dude, I would love to kind of hear, from your perspective too. The training side has been so like monumental for your development, and just I can kind of see it in you, and like the way that during sessions, like we'll be going and you'll like think of ideas, we're spitballing ideas, we're going back and forth, we're seeing other people in the gym that like that we're collaborating with, like we're just having these cool conversations of like, how can we be better? How can, you be better? I can be better, and we can help each other. And so, dude, I just would love to hear from your perspective. Like you've been training with me, an everyday athlete, for a little bit now. How has our training impacted your life up until this point?
Man, how has it impacted my life? I would say, Zach, like that nuance that I see a lot of myself in you with just the passion that you bring to what you do, your desire to help so many people. But I think what I admire most about you is that you know who you're for and who you're not for. And you're very clear on that and willing to let people go. I'll candidly speak, I was one of your online clients back when I was at Texas A&M, and I was navigating so much life stuff. A lot going on, bro. Yeah, which is not an excuse. It was a factor, but I was not ready, and I had paid a significant amount of money for I think it was a 12-week. It was a significant amount of time that I committed and had access to the app and in the community that you were building at the time, and I was not committed. I wasn't ready, and I drained a lot of money in that. But I think what I experienced or remember from that is like you were giving me opportunities, giving me grace, willing to get on calls and to kind of like, hey, how do we need to adjust this? Let's just start here. But after a while, you start seeing like this dude's not showing up for himself. And so like as much as I want to help you, as much as I see potential in you, I got to let you go, bro. And out of respect for my community of committed men, you gotta go. And that was a humbling message to read and to hear from you, especially with the relationship that we already had. But it was what I needed at that time. And now, like for you to circle back and to be able to do this in person, it's been a breath of fresh air for me. And I think like it's helped me in so many. It's been a constant in my life as I'm dealing with a bunch of variables. And I think when it's me, it's my investment in myself. That's how I view this. It's like it's worth it because I'm getting better, and I'm going to be better for every other area of my life when I prioritize this first thing in the morning.
100%, bro. 100%. And I think like that whole process that you went through is so real. And I'm really happy that you like kind of talked about it, because there's other guys, dude, that have been there where like they have every intention. I'm going to do this thing, dude. Like, and bro, I've had to mature as a coach and it's the hardest thing for me. It really is. Cause I'm like, I know exactly what you guys need. I'm like, I know this process is what you need. And I've matured in that way, bro, where like in the past, old Zach, would get him like, I get frustrated about that. Now it's like, I get it. I actually know process. It's your going through what you are going through, and the only way for you to learn is to go through it yourself. And so that is a hard thing though as a coach, where you're like, I just know what you need. Like I know you're right there, bro. But again, giving you grace to figure it out yourself, and then being able to step into a process that might just make a little bit more sense for you in your lifestyle right now, and you hit the ground running, and boom, like consistency is there. You're showing up. I mean, dude, like I love just to like see you work in there and like you understand like kind of my philosophies and how we approach the training, and like you're seeing the ROI from doing that. And it's just been like a really cool process to see. But I just want to sit with that, bro, and like have people that are listening hear that, and for even you to hear that, like, that's okay. That shit, dude, is gonna happen. That is life. Like, bro, I coach guys over like long scales where it's like, it's not just a couple weeks, couple months. Like we're working together for years. Dude, there's times throughout those years where like, you're going to have a shitty week. You're going to have a shitty couple of days. There's going to be a month maybe where you're just down and out. But if we can stack, you know, as much good days as we can through that process, we're going to win, you know, most of the time. And I think that that's just why I love that process, because you can always come back to it. It can always be something you come back to. And I just want to preach on that, because like, I think a lot of times when I'm talking online about certain things where it's like, you know, about staying consistent and like being adherent, you know, to your training and to this routine, like, I think it's just important to understand that you can always get it back. And that's like one of the coolest things that I'm trying to show, like through your journey, through my parents, like who are literally pushing 70 years old. Like my dad just RDL'd like 150 pounds. He started with like 20 pounds and it's just sweet. So dude, I think that that's just so important, that development. And sometimes you really just have to like work with yourself, man. And life is going to challenge you. And there's going to be times where you're super consistent. There's going to be times where you're, you know, fall off a little bit. But the key, man, is just like always coming back to that practice, because you now see just the power behind it and like what it's doing for you, especially from a structural standpoint in your life when you have all these variables that are out of control. Like the gym, dude, and like how you show up and what you do in there is so like, it's so fair. It's just you versus you, bro. Like at the end of the day,
100%.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you will get out directly what you put in. And I think that that's the thing that will be a constant for you from this moment forward, because even as myself as an entrepreneur, bro, like that is my foundation. I like need it at this point. Like it's not even a thing of like negotiating with myself. Now I'll have days where I have to negotiate a little bit with like, you know, how are the energy levels, stress levels? Is this productive to like push myself really hard right now? But I just think that it's so important to have this practice as a part of your life for that reason, you know?
Agreed. And I think it's about embodying what you're teaching too, right? As I'm working with young athletes, and like, I want to look the part. Like I'm older. Yeah. I'm bald and I got a little bit of gray hair in my beard now. But I did it, and I could probably still do it a little bit. And so I think there's something about people that take care of themselves and that are willing to invest. Like there's just they respect themselves. And it's just an immediate reflection of that. Now, are they perfect? No, but they're willing to at least prioritize themselves in that way, which hopefully leads to longevity and them showing up in the world for you and for their business and for whoever else in a better way.
Well, dude, I can tell. I mean, you might even be able to tell, but like on a day that you work out versus not work out, like how different like your emotions are and like how you show up and like your energy. Like I know, like, dude, I just am like I'm a better version of myself
100%
when I'm working out.
When you move your body. Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. And I would love to kind of hear from your perspective too, how your training approach has shifted like from those playing days to now.
Yeah, I think, you know, like I said earlier, the 2-hour-long workouts and, you know, you're doing a bunch of sprints and then you go in and throw a bunch of weight on. It's very different. And that was a big transition for me is, you know, having a plan, I think is step one, right? And that plan not being a 2-hour-long plan, that being more structured around the hour or 45 minutes has been helpful to me, and understanding, you know, 3-day splits, 4-day splits, kind of my knowledge growing in that way allowed me to kind of like break it up into a way that is more palatable and something that I actually can commit to versus what it used to be. I think the other thing is like, I'm not training for performance in the way that it was like, I'm about to go to war. I'm going to battle. I'm about to run down this kickoff and take somebody's head off, or I'm, you know, ready to throw my body across the field. That is not what we're preparing for. So I think that also needs to adjust, right? And so I am performing in life, right? I am potentially adding a marathon or adding a high rocks or something. And that's, I think, important too for former athletes is having a target.
Yes.
And that's something that we'll probably talk about at some point, because I do want to progress into that. Just the competitor in me wants something. But it's performing to be the best me, not the best character of a football player or prototype safety. It's a different approach. The best me might mean a 20-minute hit workout. And that's today.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Absolutely, bro. And I think like for the listeners to kind of tap into like a little bit of our philosophy, even with training, it's like, yes, it's different, but we're very much so doing a lot of the same things. We're just changing how we're doing it.
How?
So like, again, to your point, like we're going to sprint. We don't have to do as much volume or as much intensity, but like we're still going to train it. We're still going to progress it. We're still going to train that quality. And I think that's just good for a lot of former athletes to hear, where like usually you see kind of like a massive drop off from like, you know, you have this elite level, you know, super long, very multifaceted, like sports performance training. And then a lot of guys, it kind of just like completely drops off to like randomness and like, again, do the random unstructured stuff like supplementally, but don't count on it for progression is really what it comes down to. And so we very much so can train those same qualities and progress those qualities. It's just going to like look, and the delivery is going to look different than what it was in college. Cause we just, to your point, like some of those qualities, we don't have to train as much. And like, that's kind of what we do with like the explosive movements, where like as an athlete, like you're doing primarily a lot of power, a lot of explosive movements. We're still doing those, right?
Yeah, we have been,
but it's just not at the same level. So that's just, I think it's so important to differentiate that, to realize like, hey, I'm not just like dropping off and giving you guys like weak training. Like, no, we're still getting after it. We're still pushing these qualities. It just evolves and looks different than what we were doing as like high school and collegiate athletes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think when we first started, you often say like the regression to progression and scaling back, right? Because so many people, and I'm doing this in my business in my own way, it's like people come in with their own ideas, their own ideologies, their own plan and vision for themselves, which great, have that. However, like when you choose to engage with me, I now have the opportunity to kind of collaborate with you, and we co-create a new plan. And I think that's what I've experienced with you. It's like, yeah, like, can you throw 225 on the bar and probably bench 15 again? Yeah, you probably can, but like, that's not go there yet. That's not the plan. Let's start here and let's build. Let's build, which has, I think, helped me to kind of, one, confidence-wise, because I can knock out 135, right? And I can knock out 185. But the fact that we're able to see progression is also, I think, a piece of like buying in, like, oh, this is working. It's almost like psyching you out a bit. But I think trusting that process and that regression plan to then build on has been helpful, especially like when you think about the foundational piece. If you got a poor foundation or a foundation that's not built for the skyscraper you're trying to build,
right?
You have to start there.
And bro, that is we've talked about nuance, and like you and I talk about nuance. Like I'm so fascinated by it because it's like that's the shit that nobody talks about. And like that is the difference maker. That nuance, what you just said, can change the entire training experience. So imagine you're working with somebody and like you rush them into it, progress too hard, too fast. They can't do it, or they like their body fights back. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Guess what they're going to think? All training is bad.
100%.
All training hurts my body. Because you know how we are as humans. Once we have that negative experience, it clouds our entire experience. So a lot of people are truly of that belief where they're like, this training is going to hurt my body, because that's their only exposure to it. So let's rewind. Now imagine you had that same person where we took the approach that we took with you, where I wasn't like, hey, we have to like rush into this progression. Let's do what you absolutely can do, and where you feel really good. You know, you can do the movement, you can do the exercises really well and feel great doing so. Get you acclimated, then progress. Build the foundation before we progress. And that, dude, that nuance, I am telling you right now, is so disregarded in this industry. And it's everything, bro. I don't care if you know everything there is to know about strength and conditioning, everything there is to know about running, everything there is to know about swimming, whatever you could be the smartest person in the world. If you do not know how to regress it to a level that person is capable of, you can ruin training for them.
100%.
And that's how crucial that is.
That's the difference between a good coach and a coach.
Yes.
Right? Is the ones that can break it down, that can teach a fifth grader or a fourth grader some of the same complex things that you're also trying to teach
and lower that barrier.
Yeah.
Get you guys successful. Get your confidence going, bro. That's what it's all about. I get so gassed up about that, bro, because it's just like it's something that gets so overlooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in this whole process. And so, dude, we talked about it a little bit there, but I'd be curious, like, what drives you now ultimately to stay consistent in the gym without training for a specific sport? You know, you talked about it a little bit in there with kind of training for life now, but yeah, what is like your kind of why that really gets you motivated to show up and keep showing up for that?
Well, I think you said it. I am a better person when I move. When I'm moving, I've just seen the effects. Typically, at least when in another season of my life, it was my physical body shifting and changing that then led to now I went to the mental route. So like I just started with my therapist again.
Nice.
So I'm kind of seeing this natural progression of what is physical, what I can control, what is like familiar,
Yes.
and locking in with that then leads to the next level of mental for me, of really trying to process some other transitions and things in my life that coincides with my physical health, right? So I think for me, it's a snowball going down a hill. And I think when I see it firing in that way and I'm able to attack the weights and kill today or feel that, then my next meeting is like, okay, like let's lock in on that. But I think so much of it has just been momentum.
Yes.
And my commitment to myself. I think that is one of the things. I think a lot of us, and I'll speak for myself, I often betray myself.
We all do, bro.
What I look like in confidence and like having it all together. I battle with belief in myself. I battle with self-doubt in so many different ways. And I think when you do the hard thing, like you feel better about yourself, and then you can do the next hard thing. And then that's what it's been for me, and that's what continues to fuel me.
Dude, I love that, man. Like, it is such a momentous game, dude. And that is honestly where my passion for saying, like, you know, don't let this thing go. Like what we said earlier is going to happen. There's going to be times where if you lose this, cool. Like, just work hard to get it back. But why I encourage people to, like, I talk about it like dimming a switch. Like, you're not turning it off.
You're dimming
that working out or that training or that fitness might just like dim a little bit during a certain season of life, but don't let it go completely, because you can probably speak to this, man. I know I can. There was a period of time like when I left college and I was done playing football and I was working in that first job. And dude, I let my fitness go. Like, I let my training go.
Yeah.
And I was barely working out. Dude, I was starting every day in fight or flight mode. I'd sleep until the last minute of my alarm. I'd wake up. I'd be angry at my dog. And I'm like, why am I fucking angry at my dog, dude? It's my fault.
Yeah.
And then it's like, here I am just like starting the day in fight or flight. I'm always like playing on the reactive side of things. I'm not proactive. I'm very reactive. I'm stressed. I'm anxious all the time. And I'm like, what do we say earlier? Take a step back. Something's got to change. Started working out again. Made that commitment. I'm like, I'm just going to get up in the morning, set my alarm. It sucked in the beginning, but I got it back. But it was one of the hardest things to get back, bro. Have not let it go since. Swear to God. And I just encourage people, like, for that reason, it is such a momentum habit. Like, when you're in this and you're training and you're doing it, as you can probably speak to, bro, like, it's much easier to show up. When it's not in your life, it is like climbing the biggest uphill battle. And I don't know what it is, bro. I think it has a lot to do psychologically, just like, it's something extra. It's physical. It's like, like basically it's just so easy to get comfortable, bro. Like, it is. I'm not going to lie. Like, I see why people slip into that, because like I lived it for a hot second, but where we're different is like, I had the awareness and like this internal like gut drive where I'm just like, I'm not okay with this. Something's got to change. Something's got to change. But I just wonder how many people don't have that. Maybe that's the inner athlete in us. Like,
it might be,
but
it might be.
I just think that it's so important, dude, to just dim it. Like, don't let it switch off, because as you're speaking to, it is truly all about momentum, dude. And I think life is about that momentum. It's like that working out is going to steamroll into what you do with Hyphenated. That's going to steamroll how you show up in your relationships and your friendships and everything, bro. And like, I say that a lot. I'm like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And that can be a powerful thing. But we have to be open to allowing kind of those habits to stack all around us. So, dude, I just love that you said that. And, you know, we're getting to the end here. I only have like a couple more questions for you, bro. But I know that some of our best, you know, ideas and conversations happen mid-workout. Why do you think, you know, your training brings that level of just like depth, creativity, and just mental flow, like when you are engaging in physical activity?
Yeah, man, I think for me, since I've moved back to Columbus, it's been about 5-6 months now. What I get out of this that maybe is not visible is community and connection. We are made for community. And I think in what I've experienced in my personal life, but then in my observation of other men is that there's a lot of people lone wolfing life. And like, so for me, beyond just the physical gym grind, there's also the conversations that you and I have, the conversations with Jackson when I bump into Brady and Roy and the rest of the crew.
Awesome, bro.
That part for me is it fills my cup. I'm one that likes to go off in the deep end in conversations, and I know you're that type of person that will go there with me,
Absolutely.
even if it is about a topic that might make you feel a little uncomfortable. But like that is who you are, and so being able to surround myself with people that are aspiring for more, that are willing to have conversations, and I think this also kind of extending beyond just the gym is something I desire. And I just think it's cool, man, to do life with people. And I think that's how you grow.
That's it, man.
And that's how you connection is one of the things that connection and community. And that's also
Everything,
a part of it. When you think about hyphen, right? It is a connecting element within language. You think about student hyphen athlete. And so now those two parts become one.
Yes.
Because of the hyphen.
Yes.
And so it's
you're
true to
bridging that gap, bro.
You're bridging the gap.
We've talked about it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like even having this in real time, just very cool because we've talked about this a lot. And like hearing you go in depth with like the compliance and all of that, like this makes so much sense, bro. I told you that early on where I'm like, this needs to happen. But like you really are like truly bridging that gap, and that needs to be bridged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I think, yes.
Yeah.
And like, I just think the connection here has been great for me, man.
Yes,
so
bro.
I just want to just continue to build on it. And
Yeah.
I know we're all kind of going our own paths, but like at the end of the day, we're sharing this human experience together.
We are, man.
And I think that's what this life thing is about.
It is. For sure, man. And no, I appreciate you too, dude. Where like, you know, a lot of these conversations have helped me and provided value to me and clarity and just like direction and all of those things. And to your point, man, about community, like I think that's what's so cool about surrounding ourselves with like-minded people and why that's so important. I see it in my online everyday athlete community with those guys. I see it with you guys in person, and like that's what it's all about, man, because that is crucial. Like it can either carry you forward, you know, those types of people, or if you surround yourself with the wrong type of people, like it'll pull you down, man, and pull you back. And like I've been there. I felt that pull in those different directions. And that's where, again, finding that clarity can be so important, bro. So dude, I would love to just kind of leave the audience with this question of, you know, what message would you leave to other former athletes, you know, who might be stuck trying to evolve, improving their fitness, relationships, career, the ones who still have it, but just need that right structure to bring it out again?
Man, I think what I would say to the former athlete is like, question yourself, like doubt your doubts. I think so much of us, like we fixate on like, oh, this is what it is and that's what it is. And it's like, is it? And I think when you dive and when you go into situations that you think are one thing with an open mind and curiosity, you allow other things to be presented to you. And I think that can be in so many different contexts. It sounds very like woo-woo, but I think in relationships, right? You know, a young lady, it's like, you think she's this, but like, oh man, I really liked this about her, right? In the gym, oh, I thought this was the weight, but I'm feeling good today. Let me pump it up a little bit more. In business, even as I address athletes, and I think all of them are this, right? You kind of have these stereotypes about people and about experiences, thinking that because it happened this way in the past, it's going to be this.
Be that way.
No, like we are creating new every day, and every new opportunity that we're presented on this earth, we have we are created to create new. And so I think taking that power back and being able to, I look at God as like we're co-authoring this life with God. If God's given you that ability to kind of see a new day, go make it the best that you can and be honest with yourself in that process.
Dude, I love that you said that, man. Like I feel like my literal natural curiosity, and this is probably the case for you, is literally the reason I've gotten to this point. Like, especially in training, dude, like I have always found myself very naturally curious just about like why this amount of reps, why this amount of sets, why this exercise over that exercise. Like I was just drawn to it. So I love that you are finishing off with that statement, because I think that is a message we all can take with us, is just like keep being curious,
Be
dude.
curious.
And the more adult we become, it's like the more we like allow, and I can feel it, bro. Like the more these like pressures and expectations and shoulds are like being pushed onto us. And I think if you look at a lot of adults, like they lose that curiosity completely.
Yeah, I've
Hold on
I've
to it,
witnessed
bro.
that. Yeah.
You know
I've
what I
witnessed
mean?
that. And that's the saddest thing, is like when you stop kind of living in that way, and life kind of like, you know, pushes you and forces you in this lane. But like, man, you're still
You're not
here.
stuck.
You're
Even
still
though
here.
I know you're
you got
convinced you
70-year-old
are.
parents that
Yeah.
are doing new things and modifying workouts and pushing their limits.
Yeah.
It's like, if they can do it, you can.
Yes.
And I think that's what I hope to model. But I also want to encourage others to broaden their perspective on themselves, and like, oh, I
Absolutely.
can too, whatever that might be.
And bro, like it even happens day to day for me, where it's like something like I'll be in a routine. It's just funny. This popped in my head as you were really talking about it. You can almost like get out of inertia. You're just like doing shit, but it's like I have literally had to like stop, look at things and be like, all right, that needs to change, or like we need to adjust that one. And it wouldn't happen unless I gave myself that space to be curious and to evaluate. So I just think that's a cool theme that's been present, like literally throughout every topic throughout this, bro. How
100%.
important that reflection and curiosity really is, you know?
That's key, man.
Unreal conversation, bro.
No doubt, man. Appreciate you.
I knew
bro.
it would go this way,
No
but
doubt.
at the same time, like so good, man. And I love that you just really can speak to that your experience and what you're doing now, and kind of like all this culmination up until this point, bro, of all these lessons and things that you've gone through, I've gone through, to then see us at this point together, and then we're gonna keep this thing going, bro. You know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean? That's what it's about.
It is. It is. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the platform and the opportunity to share. And thank you for your investment in me and support in my journey as I try to be the best me.
For sure, brother.
So
That's what I'm here for, dog.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you,
All
dog.
right, bro.